I had included enough details to make everything seem plausible, while keeping my relationship with my brother-in-law discreet. If Daniel found out, he would panic. If not, he would investigate on his own. Either way, I was going to learn something. By 9:45, my phone rang. It was Daniel's number. I sent it to voicemail. His message was brief. "Jake, we need to discuss your email immediately. Call me back." I didn't call back. Instead, I drove to a cafe, opened my laptop, and waited. At 10:30, another email came through. This time it was from Vanessa in HR. "Mr. Wilson, we have received concerning information from you, which may violate your separation agreement. Please cease all contact with Meridian employees and remember your confidentiality obligations. Any further contact may result in legal action." So they were starting this game. Threats. Termination. Isolation. I had never signed any separation agreement. By noon, I drove to the bank and accessed my safe deposit box. Inside was another backup. Older, but containing important information that I hadn't put on my regular drives. Among the files were the original security protocols I had designed, including documents on who had accessed which systems and when changes were made. According to the records, Brian Wilcox had requested expanded access to the financial approval system 18 months ago, right when the peak payment started. Returning home, I saw 3 missed calls. Daniel, Vanessa, and now Jason Phillips. I hadn't expected him to get involved so quickly. Interesting. I checked my personal email and received an urgent message from Steven. "Jake, they're saying you sent a crazy email about financial fraud. Phillips called an emergency meeting. People are talking. They're cutting off your access to everything, even the historical data we need to work. What's going on?" Poor kid. Caught in the middle of this. I sent a brief reply. "Don't get involved, Steven. Just observe." At 3 p.m., my home phone rang. A number I hadn't used for work in years. I picked it up but didn't say anything. "Jake? It's Brian Wilcox." His voice was calm, controlled. "We should talk about your concerns. I think there's been a misunderstanding." "What do you call that?" I asked. "Look, transitions are always difficult. If you have questions about the company's finances, there are proper channels." "Like the board of directors?" I interrupted. Silence, then he said, "The board doesn't need to concern itself with operational details. Why don't we meet tomorrow? Just you and me. We can clear this up." "Sorry, I'm busy tomorrow," I said. "Moreover, I think the board might be very interested in Apex Solutions Group. And your brother-in-law as well." His deep breath told me everything. "You're making a serious mistake," he said finally. "We can make this right. Generous compensation. Reference letters. Anything you need." "Goodbye, Brian," I said and hung up. Less than 10 minutes later, Vanessa sent another email. Suddenly, my compensation package was doubled, along with an agreement requiring me to keep complete confidentiality about all company matters. Now they were panicking. But they still thought they were dealing with a simple extortion attempt. They had no idea what was coming next. Thursday morning brought clarity and confirmation. I had spent the entire night going through years of data, connecting dots I had previously overlooked. The Apex plan wasn't Brian's first creative accounting project. 3 years ago, right after he became CFO, another scheme appeared. Consulting fees for a company called Lakeside Business Solutions. Different name, same game. Inflated invoices for services that hadn't been or would never be provided. I traced the registration for Lakeside. The name led to Patricia Wilcox, Brian's wife. This woman seemed to be the CEO of a company with no website, no employees, and a virtual office address. But the bigger discovery came when I dug deeper into the email archives. Daniel didn't just know about these arrangements, he helped push them. In return, his department received increased budgets while others were cut. He had been brought into the company specifically because the previous director had started questioning IT costs. Even Jason Phillips was involved. His consulting firm had been hired through an irregular process, bypassing normal purchasing channels. His real role wasn't to modernize IT, but to eliminate the only person who could recognize those financial patterns. Me. This plan was truly sophisticated in its simplicity. They created legitimate vendors, approved inflated payments, and pocketed the difference. Since the actual services were still being provided, just at a higher price, auditors looking for completely fraudulent expenses would not detect anything. Over 3 years, they diverted nearly $4.3 million. I compiled everything into a summary report. The spreadsheets showed the growth pattern. Business registrations linked the companies to Brian's family. Email exchanges showed that Daniel knew and was involved. Then, I did what they didn't expect. I contacted Robert Chen, a board member I had worked with years ago on a security deployment project. He was nearing retirement but still attended quarterly meetings. "Jake Wilson," he answered as soon as I called. "Long time no see. I heard you left Meridian." "Not by choice," I replied. "Robert, I need 15 minutes of your time." "It's important," I said. Silence followed, then he asked, "Is this about why Brian and Daniel keep sitting next to each other looking tense?" "The board meeting yesterday was pretty tense." "Yeah," he chuckled softly. "I always thought you knew exactly what was going on. Where can we meet?" An hour later, we were sitting in a park 3 miles from headquarters. I handed him a sealed envelope with a summary and a USB drive. "This is everything," I said. "Dates, amounts, the connections. I don't want my job back. I don't need the money. I just want the right people to know." Robert studied me. "Why come to me?" "Because you actually read the audit report. I've been following you in the meetings. You always ask the questions." He nodded slowly. "Tomorrow there's an emergency board meeting. A review by the finance committee. What a convenient time." "Jake," he said, tucking the envelope into his pocket, "if this is true, there will be serious consequences. I'm looking into it." As I walked back to my car, my phone buzzed with a message from Andrea. "A guy named Jason Phillips came by your house looking for you. He said it was urgent." "I told him you were out," she said. They were desperate. Good. That afternoon, I received 2 job offers from rival companies. Both offered me higher salaries than my previous job and substantial signing bonuses. News of my sudden presence had spread. I didn't respond to them right away. This wasn't about finding a new job. This was about finishing what they had started. That evening, I used access that should have been revoked, but no. Sloppy IT transfer, Jason. I accessed the company's email server for the last time. And scheduled an email to be sent to all board members at 8 a.m. the next morning. Before you approve, please prepare 2 bonuses. Attached was my entire report. By Friday morning, the sky was clear. I sat on the porch with my coffee, watching the neighborhood wake up. No alarm clock. No commute. Just waiting. At exactly 8 a.m., the email was sent to the board members. By 8:17, my phone began to ring. Numbers I didn't recognize. Probably assistants of the board members trying to reach me. I sent them to voicemail. At 9 a.m., the Emergency Finance Committee meeting would begin. Robert Chen would be there with my materials. I would be watching their reactions when my email was discovered and discussed. At 9:32, Stephen texted me. The police are here. Wilcox and Daniel are being interrogated in the conference rooms. Phillips looks sick. What did you do? I didn't respond. Everything was going exactly as I had predicted. By 10 a.m., I received a call from Meridian's general counsel. Unlike the others, I answered this call. Mr. Wilson, this is Patricia Graves from Legal. We need you to come immediately to discuss the information you've provided to the board. I can respond by phone, I replied. This really needs to be discussed in person. No, it doesn't, I calmly answered. Everything I know is in that report. Everything I have has been backed up in several secure locations. If anything happens to me or my family, the additional copies will be sent to the SEC, the IRS, and 3 media outlets. Silence. Mr. Wilson, she finally said, her voice calm, the board is taking this very seriously. They've temporarily suspended some executives pending investigation. They will assess your cooperation. I've fully cooperated by providing the complete documentation. My part is done. After she hung up, I drove to a diner 20 miles outside of Columbus. Today, I shouldn't make it easy for them to find me. By lunchtime, news began to spread on local business websites. The executives at Meridian Technologies were under investigation for financial issues. No names yet, but that would come. At 2 p.m., Robert Chen called. This is a bloodbath, he said immediately without any beating around the bush. Brian admitted it when we confronted him with the evidence. He tried to negotiate. He's blaming Daniel for pressuring him. Daniel denies everything. What about Phillips? He says he's just an advisor and knows nothing about the financial issues. The board doesn't believe him. We've suspended all 3 while we conduct further investigations. What about the money? Forensic accountants will get involved on Monday. Initial estimates show at least $4.5 million has been diverted over the past 3 years. It could be more. I nodded. I had almost guessed right. The board wants to meet with you, Robert continued. About coming back, not just to your old position. They're creating a new Chief Information Security Officer role. Reporting directly to the board. I had predicted this possibility but still felt surprised. I'll think about it, I said. That evening, I told Andrea everything. She listened without interrupting, then asked, "What do you want to do?" Good question. The revenge was done. The people who had pushed me out were now being pushed out. They might face criminal charges. Justice had been served coldly and accurately. But returning to Meridian meant stepping back into the place that had discarded me after 17 years of service. Could I do that? Did I want to? I need time to decide, I said finally. That night, I opened my laptop one last time and posted a single message on my otherwise quiet LinkedIn page. Never burn bridges. Let them collapse under the weight of their own greed. Within minutes, former colleagues started reaching out. The rumors spread. The silent system guy had taken down 3 executives without saying a word. By Monday, everyone would know exactly who they had underestimated. On Monday morning, I walked into Meridian's headquarters in the suit I hadn't needed in years. The security guard looked at me twice, then quickly printed out a visitor's badge. "Welcome back, Mr. Wilson," he said with newfound respect. The elevator up to the executive floor was very quiet. I had never had reason to come here before. Now, I was expected in the boardroom. 10 board members sat around the glossy table. Robert Chen gave me a slight nod as I walked in. The acting CEO, formerly the CEO, seemed uncomfortable. "Mr. Wilson," she began. "Thank you for coming. The situation you've brought to light is unprecedented." I stayed silent. "The scope of the fraud seems worse than initially reported," she continued. "The forensic team has uncovered nearly $5.2 million being diverted. Criminal charges are being prepared." Still, I waited. Robert cleared his throat. "Jake, the board has unanimously voted to create a new executive position. Chief Information Security Officer. Full executive authority, reporting structure directly to the board. We would like to offer you this position." I placed my file on the table. "Inside are my terms," I said. "Non-negotiable." The acting CEO opened it and quickly skimmed through. Her eyebrows raised. "Full audit rights across all departments. Independent budget. Veto power over financial technology decisions." I nodded once. "This is quite rare," she said. "Like embezzling $5.2 million, I replied. "That happened because no one was paying attention. Now someone will." The room went silent. "You have until noon," I said as I stood up. "I have other proposals." As I turned to leave, Robert asked, "Did you plan all of this from the beginning, Jake?" I paused at the door. I didn't plan on being fired after 17 years. Everything after that was just me doing what I've always done, identifying system vulnerabilities and implementing appropriate security measures. At 11:47, they called. They had accepted all the conditions. 6 months later, I sat in my new corner office, reviewing the security protocols for the upcoming quarter. The view overlooked the Columbus skyline, a daily reminder of the massive change. Brian Wilcox had pleaded guilty to multiple counts of fraud. In exchange for his cooperation, he would receive a lighter sentence. Still, the sentence was heavy. Daniel was fighting the charges, insisting he knew nothing about the scheme, despite the overwhelming evidence. Jason Phillips had fled to Brazil but would be extradited. The money had been recovered. Most of it, at least. Enough to prevent the company from suffering significant financial damage. My old team now reported directly to me, though I had promoted Steven to run the day-to-day operations. He had potential. Someone just had to recognize it. A knock on the door drew my attention. Andrea stood there, smiling. "Ready for lunch?" she asked. I nodded and grabbed my coat. As we walked through the IT department, the conversation quieted a little. Not out of fear, but out of respect. These people knew what had happened. Knew that I could have destroyed the company instead of saving it. In the elevator, Andrea held my hand. "Happy?" I thought for a moment. The anger that had driven me in the early days after being fired had slowly faded away. What remained wasn't entirely happiness. It was more like satisfaction. Completion. "I'm fine," I said. Outside, the October sunlight warmed our faces as we walked to a nearby restaurant. My phone buzzed with a message from Robert Chen. "The board has approved an increase in your security budget. Unanimous vote." I smiled slightly. No debate, no questions. Just trust. Andrea noticed my expression. "What's that?" "Nothing," I said, slipping the phone into my pocket. "Just thinking about the bridges. There are bridges that collapse under their own weight. There are bridges, when repaired, that become stronger than ever. This time, I had built that bridge the right way.